So you're in 2nd C now, and you're deciding to main swords. Here's a quick guide on how to get every sword in 2nd C, as well as what they do, and which ones I recommend getting first. Sword in the game you get is the long sword, which you get from fighting Diamond at the big tree near the cafe. This sword has 2 moves, the first one being Annihilation, and the second one being Glorious Smash. Overall, the sword's pretty good. For it being the first one you're able to get in 2nd C, I don't complain too much about it. Second sword available to you in 2nd C is the Gravity Blade, which is dropped by the boss that spawns to the back right of the giant beanstalk on Green Zone. Dimensional Grasp, as well as Lunar Blitz. Overall, I highly recommend the Gravity Blade as it's probably one of my favorites and it's incredibly fun to use. The next sword available to you is the Flail, which can be dropped by the Smoke Admiral in the lava side of Hot and Cold. The Flail overall isn't one of my favorites. I actually think it's probably one of the worst swords in 2nd C, but it's still a good one to have, as it's a lot better than most swords in 1st C. The moves are Smoke Leopard and Smoke Apparition. The last sword that actively drops from a boss is the Dragon Trident, which drops from the Tidekeeper at the Forgotten Island. The 2 moves are Sea Dragon Fury, as well as Water Dragon Shower. Overall, this sword's pretty strong. However, the second move isn't that great and it doesn't deal that much damage. Now let's talk about the Midnight Blade, which is the first sword obtainable through a different method than a boss drop. This sword can be gotten by purchasing it for, I believe, 1000 Ectoplasm at this NPC. The 2 moves are Portal Opening and Crescent Dash. Overall, I believe this is one of the best swords in 2nd C. I think it's really enjoyable, it has really good damage, and it's just super fun to use, making it easy to farm later on. The next sword available is Rengoku, which is a Demon Slayer reference if you didn't know, and it can be attained by defeating the Ice Admiral at the Ice Castle. Now, you don't actually get the sword as a drop from the Ice Admiral. You'll get a special key similar to the one that you need for Death Step. I believe it's called a secret key, and you will come back here and use it on a chest that spawns right here. Once you use it on the chest, you will obtain Rengoku, which is considered one of the strongest swords in 2nd C, although personally, it's not my favorite. The 2 moves are Demon Slayer, as well as Burning Slash, which actually has 2 variations. The first, which is a long charge, and the second variation being if you just simply tap. It is called Coco, which is a reference to Law's sword in the actual anime, and it can be attained by talking to an NPC back behind the castle where the Smoke Admiral spawns, spending 1000 fragments to get a special chip, and then heading over to the large rock just outside, and walking into here, and doing the special Order Raid, aka a Law Raid. Very small chance of actually dropping the sword, and I actually don't have both moves on the sword, but I will still show both of them off. The first being Electric Stabs, which is just a really quick dash of electricity. Another thing to note with Coco is if you're using the Control Fruit, its power is increased by a lot, making it one of the strongest swords in 2nd C, but with the condition of using Control. The next sword is Pole 2nd Form. This is just an upgraded version of Pole in 1st C, however this one is much more difficult to get, as you need over 18,000 fragments to get this sword. The reason you need 18,000 fragments is because in order to get it, you have to completely awaken Rumble and then have another 5,000 fragments just to buy the sword. Overall, it's not a very good sword. I don't recommend getting it unless you want to collect all of them, as it's just a waste of fragments. The moves are Hand of God, as well as Electric Prism. The final 3 swords that you're able to actually obtain in 2nd C are the 3 legendary swords in order to get true triple katana. These 3 swords are Shizu, Sashi, and Orochi. Shizu does true quiet rush, as well as focus shot. The 2nd sword, Seishi, has swords dance, as well as true air slash. The final sword of the legendary trio is Orochi. Oroshi's moves are continuous flashing, as well as dragging. Now, to actually obtain the 3 legendary swords, you have to come talk to the manager, who will then tell you where he was last. If he says some pirates ran into him on a nearby island last week, go ahead and server hop until he says something different. When he does say something different, wait in that server until he says he is here. Once he says he is here, go ahead and run around the map at the spawn locations of the legendary swords dealer. However, if you want to know all of the locations, I'll leave a link to the wiki down below where you can look at every single spawn location of him and quickly plan out a route for it. Now, the last and final sword obtainable in 2nd C is true triple katana, considered the strongest sword in 2nd C simply because it is. It has the most single damage output, or M1 damage output, as well as 2 of the strongest moves in 2nd C. This sword is incredibly difficult to obtain, and you actually probably won't obtain it until near the end of 2nd C. However, it's a great sword to have going into 3rd C, and I recommend getting it as soon as possible. It is, however, the most taxing sword to get, as you need to have all 3 of the legendary swords, Shizu, Sashi, and Orochi, which all cost 2 million apiece, as well as needing an extra 2 million on top, totaling 8 million in order to actually get true triple, as well as having over 300 or higher mastery on the legendary swords. The moves are Wolf Fang Rush and Dragon Hurricane. Dragon Hurricane actually works best if there's something above the enemy that you hit it with, as it keeps them inside of the tornado longer. True Triple also has the 3rd highest M1 damage in the entire game, so if you're looking for big M1 damage, I recommend going for it. So my personal recommendations for the swords is to go for Gravity Blade first, then Midnight Blade. If you really want, you can go for Rengoku, but then from Midnight Blade, just go for the legendary swords and then true triple. Anyways, that's my every sword in 2nd C guide, as well as how to obtain them and what they do. I hope you guys enjoyed, found it helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.